So welcome everyone. Can you believe it? September 20th. Can you believe it? Just feel that. September 20th. Okay. Are you feeling the difference today? Can you tell that I'm feeling so much better? It's totally different. I woke up this morning and I was like, what's going on here? It's like, I feel very supported. I wrote to one of my friends and I said, I don't know what's going on, but I feel so supported today, energetically. I even use the word like, it just feels delightful, like yummy to be alive. And I feel super hopeful. There's like much needed hope that is slowly welling up, bubbling up inside me, springing up inside me. I am honestly excited for, I have absolutely no idea exactly what. It's just like maybe excited for even at the grand level for humanity, for this earth, for all living things and all things beautiful. I feel so ready to express beauty. And, I think a huge part of it that over the weekend, I worked on heart-centered practice, and it's a Sufi practice, and it's called practice of remembrance. And some of that I will definitely go through this with you during the lung retreat, but I was doing the practice of remembrance. So it was a lot of heart work, heart opening, but main focus was heart receiving. And I think that's what shifted me, is that I was paying attention to more of a receiving side than the giving side. And I think we're at the point for most of you and most of us is that the drop that you give, make sure you are receiving 2 droplets back, kind of a thing. Because I think many of us that show up on these calls, we know how to give, but the receiving requires a whole lot of effort on my part too. And so spending that little extra time practicing the art of receiving beauty was delightful. It was so delicious in my heart. So I think that was very helpful for me. And to wake up Monday morning thinking, yeah, this feels right. This feels like I am in the flow of things. I am in that river flowing towards the ocean. And another thing that this friend of mine and I talked about today in the email exchange was this sense of grounding that is a little different. So I want to challenge you to visualize this, right? Because it's all about the imagination right now. But a lot of the grounding practices are very kind of straight down, go down towards the earth, very kind of a linear fashion of grounding practice. But what came to me and what she suggested too that helped me to visualize was this kind of a spiraling feeling. So I was sharing this with Chris, but you spiral with this grounding force. So what I imagine it to be was like one of those drillers kind of thing that they go in and drill a well or like foundations or something. And it's this giant spiraling things that drills down deep, deep, deep down into the earth to put a pillar in it or some sort of something that holds the structures on the top. That's the kind of the grounding that I like for you to start to imagine. So what that could mean that maybe at your sacrum or pelvic floor, it's not just a straight down tailbone coming down, the sits bones coming down, but it's a little bit more spiraling. And don't get too caught up in which direction should I go, okay? It could be that you can switch the direction at some point. Maybe you hit a little rock and then you switch the directions. That's fine, okay? But the point is to be a little more circular with it, more spiral with the grounding force. And that's right. And a couple more things that I was feeling was that create that kind of a grounding feelings coming from the bottom of your feet. Okay. And I will promise you to talk a little bit more about the bottom of your feet during the lung retreat. But the bottom of your feet, if you could focus in on, that's the area that kind of maybe the spirals are coming down to get you to ground yourself along with your tailbone. That might be a really good practice right now. because we're receiving so much delightful, delicious energies right now. We also need to be grounded, but in a way that you can put foundations on the top of it. Okay. So that's something that I wanted to share with all of you before we get into the topic of today, which this whole month will be, we're spending on how do we work with our armor, right? How do we work with the shell that we've created around us, the cocoon, to protect ourselves, to feel safe, to sometimes to just purely to create comfort, right? Because maybe your childhood had so much discomfort in your life that you've focused practically decades focusing on how do I create comfort, financially comfortable, housing wise comfortable, sleeping wise, bed is comfortable. Am I comfortable in the temperature of 72 degrees? That kind of a comfort. But what that does is that it removes us from noticing the changes, the seasonal changes, noticing the vibrational shifts, noticing the changes that are happening within you. Because when we seek comfort too much, it really dulls us. It's like always drinking a lukewarm cup of coffee. It doesn't burn your tongue, but it's not too cold either. It's just blah. Okay. It's maybe seeking just the right Goldilocks, right? Goldilocks are important, but if that is your main goal, comfort, what is my right temperature? Then you don't expose yourself to challenges or shifts or getting tugged and pulled and shape changing. And really, we don't grow in that kind of a zone. So we will go much deeper into the armor today, and I'm going to have Chris take us through a short meditation. And before we do that, I wanted to talk briefly about what I wrote in the email. So if you didn't get a chance to read the whole thing, because I wrote it I wrote a longer one this time, definitely go back and reread it. But, I have to say, what has really helped me to fully embrace my own inner knowing, and then also what I'm capable of, and how should I come into the world to express who I am. So much of it is letting go of the gripping hands of mine that was used to be like, I need to know what's happening next month, astrologically, what's happening. Oh my gosh, what's the star system saying? Okay, what is this person saying? What's my intuitive saying? It's like I was always seeking for what's next. But when I did so much of that, it literally actually limited my possibilities. I think a lot of us seek that because we're human beings and we want the comfort. We want to have the knowing. Many of us do well in the world of not knowing, right? So much state of flux, so much of uncertainties. Human beings want certainties because the part of the brain is always scanning for the certainties, because otherwise we will start to alarm, and the alarm starts to go off in our brain that says, oh my gosh, could be danger. Oh my God. And then you lock up and you can't move forward. So that's why I think a lot of us seek for counsel, right? We seek for other people telling us, well, based on your birth and based on this time and based on this, or you listen to somebody that says, oh, this is coming, or this is what's happening. And then you feel like, okay, I can settle into it. But when I decided that my inner wisdom clearly said, stop, Masami, stop doing that so that we can show you the way in a much more surprising and beautiful way. That's when the opportunities started to roll in. It's been, as you know, many of you that have been following me only for about a year. Guess what? A year ago, September is when I started the Monday with Masami call. And now we call the Monday equals MC squared. But a year ago when I started this, I was still just kind of trying to grip on to what's next. But now that's not my driving force. And I am in much more at peace with it. And I'm letting the universe sit on the driver's side. And I'm not even on a passenger side, because I'm the worst passenger side driver, because I will drive your car and I will drive Chris nuts. I mean, the biggest fights we have is in the car because I'm telling him when to turn, get in another lane. Okay. I'm the worst passenger side driver. Okay. So I'm actually in the back, like way back in one of those stretched limos, and I'm just relaxed, sitting back. That doesn't mean I'm not doing anything. I'm still very much involved in what I do. I am still I study all the time. I'm learning, I'm exploring, but I am sitting back and letting the universe drive. So that's me letting the armor go. So I just wanted to share that. Okay. All right. Well, I'll pass it down to Chris, and I think he has a lovely meditation that he will take us through today. So, and welcome to all of you today.
All right. Thank you. I'm going to, of course, my thoughts were jogged a little bit with what Masami just shared. And so several things came up as she was talking about this, and the quality of opening that is required right now. We're not just preaching this stuff. It's very personal for us right now too. It's very much a part of what's going on in our lives individually and together. And so before I do this meditation, which is one of my favorite ones, and I'm going to add some variations to it for our topic today, but it just made me think about a couple of things. One is how much we get stuck on the idea of needing to be happy. I've said this before, but I want to point out that happy, it comes from the same word as happening. Okay, and it's very much tied to what's going on right now, right here and now, circumstances. And so when we're chasing after happiness, we can easily just get swept away by circumstances. And oftentimes, in fact, nearly all the time, circumstances are partially or completely outside of our control. So if our happiness is tied to something that's that flimsy, like changing circumstances, it's going to be hard to sustain it, and we're going to find ourselves unhappy a lot of the time. And so I was just reminded of this idea of joy versus happiness. And if we can look for the things that stir joy up in us, because it's already present, it doesn't have to wait for the circumstances to shine like happiness does. So joy is something more like a renewable resource. It's something we can tap into instead of look for, wait for, hope for. It's already in us. So I wanted to say that first. And I may actually post up one of my favorite quotes a little bit later. I was just thinking about this Khalil Gibran quote from the Prophet. It may come up later, but to lead into this meditation so we can get it going. One of the things that also struck me is something that Masami's talked about quite a bit in the past year. In fact, since January of this year, she started talking about paradox and how we're going into this time now where so much of what's happening is pushing us into these seemingly opposing directions where you can't hold both truths at the same time. And so that's really where we are with this topic of armor. Because when we're talking about armoring ourselves, we are simultaneously in a time right now where it's requiring us both to armor ourselves up, to protect ourselves, but it's also asking for us to armor down and be vulnerable. And that's what's necessary to have change happen, is we have to allow for the unknown. Another one of our favorite topics here is the I don't know to come in. So I want you to hold those two opposing forces as we go into this meditation of armoring up and armoring down, and see if you can connect with where you need to be with those right now. Okay, so this meditation, what I'm going to invite you to do is close your eyes, and we're going to do something we've talked a lot about, which is use our imaginations. So what I want you to do is just begin by noticing your breath. Find that very human level biological, mammalian level of your body, and just see what it feels like right now as you breathe. So first of all, just note, is your breathing low and slow and deep, or is it ragged and shallow, or somewhere in between those? Just notice where it is. You can naturally find a way to relax into a more settled rhythm and start practicing that as we go along here. Just breathing in slowly through your nose. And maybe first of all, just to set our bodies together, let's try inhaling together for a count of 4 breath or 4 beats. So 1, 2, 3, 4 on the inhale, exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And do that again. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One more time. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So imagine now you are standing in a deep forest. A forest that for you evokes the feeling of primal energies, safety, vastness, connection. And as you begin to walk through that forest and feel yourself immersed in the energy there, the green light, the damp, the moisture, the sounds of furtive creatures and the little spongy feeling of moss under your feet, or the crunch of pine needles. As you're walking, notice that there's also the sound of a river. And this isn't any small river, it's a vast and slow-moving river through this forest. As you follow the sounds of the water, you come out from the forest edge and make your way down to the bank. And you see that there's a small island, just a little distance off the shore, just a little hop over. Very easy for you to reach. And you go to this small island in the river, and you walk up toward the incoming current. So you're walking toward the river as it's coming downstream, and you find that you're a little bit heavy. And as you look down, you notice that you are wearing all of this protective armor. For some of you, it might look like one of those medieval knights, or maybe it's like a motorcycle kind of armor, or fencing armor, whatever it might be that the image evokes for you of protection. Notice how it might be weighting you down right now. Maybe it's even a little bit hot here in the sunshine as the river is flowing and things are so peaceful. I want to invite you here to take whatever armor you're able to remove away. Just take it off. Lay it aside for a moment. Because what you see at the end of this island, there's a little point just ahead of you. And there's a rock, this beautiful, big, flat rock that sort of overhangs the water. Just the right size for you to go and sit down, maybe dangle your feet off the edge, dip your toes in the water. But it's a perfect place for you just to watch the river flow by you. And now that you're free of that suit of armor or whatever you were wearing, a little more freedom to move and relax and be safe, you just watch the water come toward you, flow around the sides of this little point that you're on, around the rock. Hear the sloshing sounds of the water, the little waves. This is a very wide, fast-flowing river. And sometimes you see things that are floating down in it. Maybe it's a branch, or somebody lost the toy boat upstream, or maybe an animal. But you notice if you don't hold any of those things too tightly, they just pass on by you. So as you're watching the river flow, notice where you're letting your attention float with it downstream as things come through, the little floating debris. Just notice that you're following them downstream, and then bring your attention back to the flow of the river coming toward you. Now let's just take a minute and just sit and enjoy what the river has to show you as it flows and flows and flows toward you. And right at that point where your toes are dangling, maybe touching the water, that point is right now. Enjoy how delicious this moment can be. Whatever comes down from the river upstream eventually disappears downstream and out of sight. Just let it go. There's nothing you need to do here. Nothing to fix. Nothing to find. And even though this moment, right at the point of now, feels like it could last forever, we're in this stream of time and we have to go back. So take in that river one more time. The power of it, the magnificence of it, the life-giving energy of it. Maybe even give it a little bow as you stand up from your rock. And as you turn to go, notice that pile of armor that you took off earlier. And this time, study it for a moment and ask yourself, how much of this do I really need to take back with me? And as you answer that question, take only what you need And whatever you don't need, leave it. Leave it for the river, or leave it where you can come back and find it when you need it. And with only what you need, go on back to the bank and jump over onto the other side and find your way back up that little footpath to the edge of the forest and to the inside where that moist breath of the breathing earth is waiting for you to hold you. Find your breath one more time. Find the soles of your feet and connect them with the ground. With a slow inhale, exhale through the soles of your feet and bring your attention back to your seat and here and now. So we rejoin together. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. How is that for all of you? We were talking over lunch, huh, Chris? We had some questions we wanted to ask. Can you remember what we were talking about?
I can recall some of those. So talking about, well, I'm going to reframe some of those questions because it stirred up a little bit more as we were sitting there. One of the things that came to me, and I'll put it as a question, is that this is a time where courage is needed in order to make the changes that are required, or to maybe take a stand for something that's important for us. And so there's this, it's a little bit of a paradox again, because with courage, we also need to open ourselves to vulnerability. Maybe we can say more about this, but it goes back to that idea of armoring up and armoring down. So to me, it's this question. I remember reading this book years ago called The Sacred Path of the Warrior, and by Chongyam Trungpa. And it's a good reminder of how to live from this place of courage while being completely vulnerable to the world. In fact, he talks about living as if you're turned inside out. So he says, don't just live with your heart on your sleeve. He says, your skin is actually going to be inside out. You're going to feel everything. And by doing that, it actually helps you to connect compassionately to the world and to yourself and to others, because you feel. So it takes courage to do that and to stay there. And so some of the questions that we were talking about, maybe I'll hand it back to Masami for this, but it was in the context of just the symbolism of the moon cycles and the full moon. And there's so much symbolism around these things about death and rebirth and balance and all of these things. So do you want to talk about that piece before we go into some other questions maybe, and then we can look at that?
You mean like the full moon and what we're experiencing now? Mm-hmm. I think this is what I was kind of sharing with Chris too, but I like to tune into my own self to get my own what are mantras, or maybe just a little sayings to help me, to support me for that week or that day. But today I was tuning into myself, and I thought, okay, what do I need to repeat to myself? And what what came of that question to myself was, I have arrived. I have arrived. And but then my ego mind was like, well, wait a minute. We haven't arrived. What are you talking about? We have more things to do. Okay. But my heart center was, we know you. We hear you. We hear you, ego mind. I can hear that you're scrambling with that statement. But for now, I have arrived. And the journey, although the journey will continue, I have arrived. So I have repeated that today. I plan on repeating that this evening as we gaze into the full moon. And so then I sat with it and I said, so what would be what I can share with the group today, this afternoon, this evening, for some of you, that is more, for everybody to think about or feel into. And the one that came to me was, I'm complete. I'm complete. Maybe I didn't, quite feel this one, but I'm full kind of thing. I'm enoughness, but it's more of a, I'm complete. You've completed this cycle. And when did this cycle start? Particularly in the recent months, is about 6 months ago. About 6 months ago is when we started on this journey. That was somewhere 6 months ago, you made the decision inside you to say, okay, I'm making a commitment to something. So I would love for all of you to just pause for a moment. 6 months ago, what is the commitment that I made to myself, for my highest expression of my soul and my spirit? What was your commitment? Because today is the day that you have arrived in terms of that commitment. And today is the day that you want to sense the sensation in you that says, I'm complete. Okay. So that will be the question to ask, is that what was your commitment 6 months ago that you made to yourself and for yourself? And are you able to come to today and say, I'm complete? It might be incomplete, but can you still find the enoughness in that and say, I'm complete now, and I will make a new commitment for the next round? And I don't know how long the next round's going to be, but this last round was about 6 months. So that's one of the things that I wanted to talk to you guys about. And Chris, do you want to add anything else besides we were asking, you wrote up all kinds of things, but
Yeah, so a couple of them
yeah.
were to just look at, what have you set in motion in these past 6 months? What was it that you set out to do 6 months ago? What kinds of goals were you putting out there that you wanted to accomplish?
Or maybe a theme, maybe it was more you wanted to create sense of peace and stillness. Was that your theme? Or maybe you actually did have a goal. Yeah.
And so part of that energy of the cycle is also coming to a completion, or at least coming to a point where you can recognize that the time's coming to close up that phase of those things that were set in motion 6 months ago, so that the next phase can happen. So looking again at the themes, at the directions, and for me, the words that have come to mind quite a bit in the last couple of months for me are, I can do this. And it's come up at times where I might feel like I'm wavering a little bit, or I'm struggling to complete something that I've taken on. And it's starting to challenge me on an energetic level, on a commitment level, on a motivation level. And so when it's something that matters to me, that's what I've found myself repeating quietly to myself, is I can do this. Yeah. I don't always know how I'm going to do it. I can tell you that. It's not.
Well, and Chris, I think, you want to get to the point today anyway, to say, I have done it also.
That's right. That's an important, that's right. And that's something,
Yeah.
I'll give a concrete example. We've been working on a bathroom
I think everybody's tired of hearing about our
Yeah,
bathroom
well,
project
fortunately, we haven't been
for
talking
every
about it
call that we've
the
been
whole
on.
time we've been working on it, because then it really would get old. But it's coming to a close, and that's an important thing, is that point Masami just made, to wrap up this cycle and say, I not only I can do this, I did it. I have done it. It's finished. And it's very close to that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's it. You know, your commitment for 6 months was, I can do this. Fill the blank. I can do this. And then now that's, I think what today is so significant, is that all of us, you want to get to the point that I have done it. I'm complete. I have completed it, and I have arrived. So try to find something that states a completion of the last 6 months today. I think that's going to be very helpful in terms of the equinox that we're going to be experiencing on the 22nd, right? 2-2 again. To prepare for that, to be in that equilibrium, in that place where we can hold two truths together. The paradox can show up on that kind of days. You're ready for it when you can be done with this 6 months of commitment and kind of seal the deal kind of thing tonight. Yeah.
So those requests for before and after photos, we'll have to work on that. It was pretty hideous before. So
definitely, we'll show you the before for sure. And once it's all done, toilet got hooked yesterday. I was able to use it. So that's awesome. So yeah, we'll definitely have to show you that. Okay. So let's do shift into, and then thanks for a lot of great comments. Beautiful. Chris's meditation, beautiful. Thank you. The root of courage is heart. Yes, exactly. I love that. I love looking at the origin of the words, and wonderful visualizations and imagery in that meditation with Chris's soothing voice. Thank you. Yes, well, very nice. Thank you. Love how you led us. So peaceful. Lovely. Thank you. Exquisitely peaceful. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And Richard has pointed out today the full moon is around 4:54 p.m. Pacific time. So, you know, adjust your time accordingly and really enjoy this. This is a very powerful harvest moon. So
before we jump, because we wanted to talk about the retreat that's coming up that Masami will be leading.
Do you want to put the link up?
Yeah, I'll do that in just a second. I wanted to reiterate one thing. I said this last call, and I want to say this again because it's very much still in the mix with our topic for this month, and that's about mindset. And so just to reiterate that I wrote it down this time so that I could remember it in a more systematic way. Last time it was just sort of spur of the moment. But what I said is, mindset is the container of the current possibilities that you can see. Okay, mindset is the container of the current possibilities you can see. To change your mindset, you must first change your vision. To change your mindset, you must first change your vision. To change your vision, you must use your imagination to expand the realm of possibility. To change your vision, you must use your imagination to expand the realm of possibility. So changing your mindset, again, it's an exercise in imagination. And that's what we practiced a little bit in that meditation today, was visualizing, perhaps for some of us, a different way of experiencing ourselves. And part of that might have been without armor for a couple minutes. So I hope some of you are able to get there and have that experience and feel what that's like, to know that you can be held and safe and also have your armor down. So that's it. I wanted to just mention that. And now I'm going to share my screen for a moment.
Can you just read those three one more time, please? Cheryl asked. So
yeah, I'll read the whole thing together, just all together.
Yeah.
Mindset is the container of the current possibilities you can see. To change your mindset, you must first change your vision. To change your vision, you must use your imagination to expand the realm of possibility. Okay, so I hope that was clear.
Thank
All
you.
right, I'm going to do two things really quick. So I'm going to
We,
share.
we thought that we will, if you don't mind, I wanted to talk a little bit about this lung retreat that I'm doing. So Chris will share the screen, and whether you sign up or not, please visit the link, because I wrote really cool things about the lungs. I spent some time writing about how I see the beauty of the lungs and why lungs are so important energetically, but even in like Chinese medicine and things like that. So I think you will really enjoy
So
reading.
I just I put up the wrong link, but I had it copied already on my clipboard. So I'm going to just post it
What
anyway.
is that you just posted?
That's the Khalil
Oh, that
Gibran.
Khalil
Yeah,
Gibran's
I'll come
poem.
back to that in a moment. I just wanted to not lose that. Okay, this is the
Thank you,
link.
Sarah. Yeah,
This is the
there's the
link
link.
for the retreat, and then I'm going to share my screen. We just wanted to share a couple of things, and I'll take over here for a minute, and then Masami can jump in wherever she would
Okay.
like to. But I'm pretty excited for this because those of you that have been following Masami and her work and just listening to us on these calls, I think you have a pretty good idea about how creatively Masami takes these ideas that often aren't grouped together. This is a good exercise or an example of using imagination and creativity to expand our sense of possibility. And so those of you that have done her courses and participated in events she's done, you know this. But for those of you that haven't had a chance, and for everyone, this is really a great opportunity to do something that's really needed for so many of us right now. And so I'm going to just highlight a couple of things about this retreat. It's over 3 days starting on October 15th, which is a Friday. So it's going to begin with a settling in and some meditation. We are going to experiment with doing some music with my harmonium and see if we can get Zoom to cooperate, because that's a really powerful experience to be able to have that kind of instrument, which itself is like lungs. And when you're playing it, it's like it's breathing you. It has this bellows mechanism, and it's very much like working with the lungs. So Friday will settle in and come into that point of entering into the retreat mindset and the retreat space and energy. And then Saturday and Sunday, we're going to focus on practical things that will give you a felt sense of what it is to engage with the energy of the lungs, the power of the lungs, both in healing and also releasing. And so a lot of what we're going to do is going to be broken up by what Masami is calling purposeful breaks. And these are times where you'll have a few minutes set aside here and there to reflect and to really feel into what's happening. And I'm going to share a bit more. So Saturday and Sunday, we'll do a similar format, and then we'll finish up with a Q&A session on Sunday. So you can see more about this on the link if you haven't already opened it up from the chat. But a couple of highlights. We're going to make these exercises available for download, that Masami is going to record them and share them. And one of the great things for those of you that have had a chance to do a small group session with Masami, which she rarely does, and whenever she turns them on, they go really fast. And so she's actually going to choose 4 people out of the registrants for this program to have the chance to win a small group session together. So it'll be 4 participants and Masami for 2 hours, and everybody will get about 20 to 25 minutes of time to speak directly with Masami in a group setting that's very mutually supportive, and it's a great place to feel held and connected and know that you're not totally alone. So that's another bonus of this whole process. And then I'm going to skip ahead through some of the information that's on here to this question about why a weekend retreat. And this is good. I'm going to read this to you because this is something that I think it helps us to hear it sometimes. One of the most important ways to reset your body, mind, spirit is to set aside time for yourself. Remove the day-to-day patterns as much as you can and spend some time immersed in the space with others who are also trying to elevate the frequencies of who they are and for the collective. Healing requires commitment, but also periods of undivided attention. Sorry, that was my cord dropping there in the background. Traveling deeply into your own lungs and opening space for deeper healing while getting in touch with energetic and emotional residues and stagnations in your lungs can be profound. And when it is done in a safe and loving space with like-minded souls, it can be transformative down to our cellular levels. So that's what we're operating in here with this retreat. It's really about activating that transformative energy inside of us all the way down to the cellular level. And so that's what we're inviting you in to do with us. And we look forward to it. We've had a great response so far. And we would love to see more of you here. And I know that several people on this call have already signed up, and thank you for doing that. So I'll stop there with my comments. Do you have anything else?
No, Chris, could you go down a little bit?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I skipped over this part.
And then those R's, just quickly,
yes,
show the R's. So I came up, because it's a retreat, it really, something inside me said, don't teach left brain heavy things again. Because many of you have taken my courses and I can get really out there with the left brain, right brain. But this time it's, yes, there will be some learning, okay, but it's going to be more feeling. I want you to tune into you. I want you to drop down into your body, have the communications that you've been longing for within yourself. And so I've created these 5 R's. So it's recognizing, but resetting, releasing, resolving, restoring, and rebuilding. And I'm not going to go into details about this right now, but these are going to be divided into 3 days. So 2 of those first R's will be on Friday, and then Saturday will be the middle R, 2 R's, and so on and so forth. So, this is why I'm calling it the retreat and not another class or a workshop or something that you go and take and learn and fill your brain with more information. And before we go into those 3 days, just briefly, I wanted to read an email that I received yesterday and said, thank you for forwarding the replay link to your video with John Burgos. I watched it live and found it fascinating. Loved your 5 R's. Now I'm looking forward to your retreat in October. Your retreat is an answer to a recent wish for a retreat. I was putting out some recycling out one night and paused to look up at the sky. I felt a longing for a retreat. I feel the same way. I used to go to retreats from time to time, but no longer feel I can leave my husband, who needs me around more these days. So when you offered a virtual retreat, I said yes. So this is, I think I feel the same way. I think many of us are feeling that, and I'm needing a retreat also. So that's why I decided to do that. And let's just quickly wrap up on 3 days, and then, because we have a couple more things we want to share at the end as a group. So
okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen unless there's anything else.
No, just kind of, if you could scroll down to those 3 days, just to, yeah. So, I mean, you can read up on it more here. Just each day is separated like that. So, okay, I think it's good. Thanks, Chris. All right. So if you have any questions, let me know. Chris can put the link up again, or you can go to masamikavi.com under courses. You'll find the link to this retreat as well. Okay. So any questions on that? If not, I see Maggie has her hand up and she's been patiently waiting. So I'm going to actually ask her to unmute. I asked to unmute. I hope it's working.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I put my hand up to acknowledge I love the meditation is what I was doing. But I do have a question. How long is the retreat each day? I signed up for it. I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. The first day is going to be about 75 minutes to 90 minutes. And it just be really coming back to the emotional tones, more of a sensations and feeling tone of the lungs. And then the next 2 days are going to be 3 hours, but obviously we're going to take some breaks, but there will be times to move, because I'm all about shaping our bodies differently so that we can let things come out, so it doesn't become too head heavy. So we'll have some time to move, be a time to journal, but there'll be time to go into much deeper guided meditation and things like that. But, put aside at least 3 hours. You'll get pee breaks and all that, but.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, me too. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, I think I muted you by.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got it. Yeah. Any questions are coming in?
Let's see. I'm not seeing. Melinda says, looking forward to this retreat. My lungs are yearning for this. I feel healing coming my way. And then
I feel the same way. It's just been, it's almost hard to breathe. Does that make sense, everyone? Like, it's just been, I know a lot of breathing techniques and I feel stifled. I just feel stifled, and I just feel overwhelm is no longer my word anymore. It's just like I feel fried a little bit. Today I went and got my brain scan results done. Chris and I met with the doctor and we looked at it, neurologist, I guess. And basically, he said, well, you're burnt out. Like I'm a burnout state at this point with my brain. So, and many of you know, I do a lot of work. So I need this retreat. Probably that's why I'm doing it, because I need it. So let's just remove our thinking mind, trying to achieve mind out of the way, and really tune back into our different layers of emotions I talked about on John Burgos' show too. And you can listen to the replay as well and learn different emotions that I've addressed, but I will definitely go into that much deeper, much more in depth. And I'm actually going to be introducing you to this really interesting ancestral part of the lungs too, that was intuitively came to me. And I said to Chris, I came upstairs, I was reading up on it, I was thinking about it, and I came running up. I said, oh my gosh, there's this thing in the lungs, and this is what explains it. And so I will be telling you all about, not telling you about, I'll be sharing you about this particular part of the lungs that have a lot to do with the transgenerational emotional stressors and traumas and so on and so forth. So I'm looking forward to that too. Any questions that are coming in that we can answer today?
I want to read one comment from Sandy earlier. She said, thank you for the lovely meditation, Chris. I decided to leave my armor behind. I found a box to put it in just in case I need it again. And Masami, I loved your interaction with John, so John Burgos, and your passion when talking about the various functions of the lungs. I've signed up for the retreat and I'm so excited. I can't wait. So a couple.
Oh, and I'm sorry, I wanted to mention everyone that I will be sending you an email about a week before the retreat begins on Friday night with a little bit of suggestions on food, maybe diet that will support your lungs, and certain type of maybe supplements that will be helpful for you, so you can begin to prepare your lungs for the retreat about a week before. Okay, so look for that email.
And everything will be recorded. So if you're unable to make part of it, you will be able to get the recorded sessions. Did you see
Yeah,
Richard's comment? He said there have been smoke from wildfires coming to the San Joaquin Valley in Central California. My house manager's wife has been repeatedly saying not to open any windows at any time. Has been rough with a record number of days over 100 degrees and no AC. My lungs could use this retreat.
yeah, I'm looking forward to being with you, Richard. I understand. We can finally open the windows just this past week.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we feel you on this one.
And Mary Barbara said, same here. I feel like an elephant is sitting on my chest and brain and stomach and legs.
Well, yeah, I think all of us feel like that boots that I talked about with John Burgos, right? It's just this heavy boot that's just sitting on our lungs, our chest center. And remember that the lungs are the gateway to your heart. So obviously we're going to be going into the heart center too, right?
So Cheryl said from the meditation, interestingly, my armor was only around my middle, below breast to below belly, and boots. I took both off and enjoyed letting them immediately float down the river where they could be used as needed.
Good idea. I love that. Yeah.
So before we close out for today, maybe what I can do is go back up where I posted that quote from Khalil Gibran. So for those of you that don't know, this is one of my, I think my dad actually, of all people, gave me, or maybe I just acquired it from his library. Maybe it wasn't that he gave it to me. I think I may have just taken it. But this book, The Prophet, is one of those books that is really a great meditation on what it is to be a human being. So that's what this quote is from. And it's from the section that's called On Sorrow and Joy, I believe. I'll type in the name of the book here. So if anybody is interested, it's Khalil Gibran's The Prophet. So this came to mind because we were talking about this armor and armoring up and down and joy and sorrow, which are so much about why we armor ourselves and why we would take off our armor. We want to feel the joy, but then we feel like we need to protect ourselves because then we're vulnerable and then things affect us and hit us and we armor it up again. So he gave this instruction, which I think is just such an important and timely reminder so much of the time in our lives, but especially now as so much is changing rapidly. So he says, your joy is your sorrow unmasked, and the self-same well from which your laughter rises was oftentimes filled with your tears. The self-same well from which your laughter rises was oftentimes filled with your tears. And how else can it be? The deeper that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can contain. The deeper that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can contain. When you're joyous, look deep into your heart, and you shall find it is only that which has given you sorrow that is giving you joy. When you are joyous, look deep into your heart, and you shall find it is only that which has given you sorrow that is giving you joy. When you're sorrowful, look again in your heart, and you shall see that in truth, you are weeping for that which has been your delight. When you're sorrowful, look again in your heart, and you shall see that in truth, you are weeping for that which has been your delight.
Love that poem. Absolutely love that poem. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. And everyone, enjoy this beautiful, glorious full moon. Harvest what you have sown. Is that the word? Yeah. Right. And then this is the harvesting time for North America. So harvest what you've planted 6 months ago. Go back, take a moment, tune back into that, and know that you have arrived. You have completed that. And now you can pick up and create a new goal, okay, a new way of being, that's fine. But make sure you complete this, okay, right? The Japanese saying I've shared before in Japanese is, hajime yokereba subete yoshi, owari yokereba subete yoshi. What that means is, if the beginning is right, the ending will be right. But when the ending is right, then you began right. So you have to end it also. You have to have moments of completion. And we don't take enough time to really acknowledge how much we have accomplished, how much we've done this year, how much we've been through together collectively, as well as individually. So let's cherish that. Cherish your courage, cherish your heart, cherish your resiliency, okay, and your beauty. So we love you. Happy full moon, and we'll see you next Monday. Bye, everyone.